in your email, you said you wanted to discuss what the DOM is all about. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Um, Let me start with a question. What do you know so far? What do you think the DOM is all about?
The document object model. I think that is the well, let's see. I think is that where the browser holds the HTML file and renders it?
Yep.
Oh, that's what it is. Oh, okay.
So I mean that's correct. The browser. Well, basically, that's an interesting starting point because if you're going to be getting into web development, and I believe
Hmm.
that's where your question is aimed at, you're going to be spending a lot of time around HTTP. Are you familiar with HTTP?
Actually, no, not
Okay,
really.
okay, no worries, no worries. I'm not judging. I'm just I need to know where we're
Okay.
standing. Okay,
Right.
so don't worry about if there's any. Actually, this is something I didn't explicitly say, but I will take the opportunity to express it. And if I say anything that you're not sure what it means, just stop me right there. I don't want to, go overboard. So
Okay.
you need to. It's very important that we have a common language. Okay, otherwise
Okay.
it's going to be very hard to make the best of it. So
Right.
anyway, so HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol.
Okay.
Okay, and this is I'm going to try to keep it on a high level, but I'm going to have to go probably a couple of layers to the to the bottom of it all. Okay, but don't
Uh-huh.
worry, it's going to make sense eventually. So bear with me for a while.
All
Um,
right.
so the thing is, every web application is based upon the interaction between at, at the very least two computers,
Right.
or
Okay.
probably even better, it would be to say two processes. Okay, and
Okay.
what I mean by process is a program, an application that is running inside a computer.
Okay.
Okay, great. So you got two processes that work together to accomplish a particular goal, which is for
Mm-hmm.
you to get some piece of information, or maybe from one computer or into one of those computers. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. So in this model, both these computers, there are two actors here. One is the client, another one is the server.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Right.
how do they interact? Well, basically they have some form of physical connection between them, like a cable or a Wi-Fi network, or somehow they are physically connected to one another.
Right.
Okay, great. Then on top of that, there is something like um, there is a rule set on how do they communicate.
Mm-hmm.
This may sound very basic, but it's very important. It's like, for instance, we are connected because I'm using my mouth, my vocal cords to produce sound, and it's going through the internet right into your ears. Okay,
Right.
so
Uh-huh.
that would be our physical connection.
All right.
Okay, then there is another layer on top of that, which is the very language that we use. We
Mm-hmm.
are speaking English here.
Sure. That's true.
Okay, if I were speaking Spanish, you would probably not understand what I'm saying,
Uh-huh.
even though it would make sense, probably. Okay,
Okay.
so this that we have in common, which is the English language, would be like the protocol. Okay,
Okay.
and the protocol is what makes sense of so many things, like for instance, well, there is one thing kind of implied in human communication, which is something like, when I'm talking, you're supposed to be listening,
Okay.
and vice versa. Okay,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
so if we both talk at the same time, if we both speak at the same time, we won't be able to understand each other.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's the protocol, and then on top of that is comes the English language, which determines how phrases are supposed to be structured in order to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So that's all I'm going to say about human communication. Now let's go back to computers, and
All right.
then what happens is you have this, what I was saying, the physical connection, and there is something like, well, how exactly the information is transmitted over a cable, like how much electricity should be detected in one end of the cable to say, okay, this is they are transmitting a number 1 or a number 0. Okay,
Right.
that's a very, very basic level. So on top of that, there comes this rule set, this understanding of how processes communicate with each other. And in the particular case of the internet, the protocol, well, actually on the web, the protocol that is used is HTTP.
All right. I see
All
what you're
right.
saying.
Okay. So HTTP defines how these processes communicate with each other. Like
All
what is the client supposed to ask the server, and how is the server supposed to respond to that?
Okay, I see.
Okay. So that is HTTP. So then on top of HTTP,
Yeah.
you will find HTML.
All right.
All right. So I don't want to get into technical. It will be very useful if you want to dig a little deeper into all I'm saying, but just to keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
With HTTP, you get to the level of you can like send or actually transmit some chunk of text from one side to the other. Okay, that is what HTTP does for you.
All right.
All right,
So it's how.
but
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, and that's pretty much where I was going. It's like you can send and receive any kind of text using the
Mm-hmm.
HTTP protocol. Okay, particularly when it comes to when the client is a browser like Firefox or Chrome or whatever you are using.
Mm-hmm.
That's your client application. So your client application will make all the negotiation, all the communication, with the low-level communication with the web server, and it
Mm-hmm.
will eventually get some form of HTML, or it could actually be any kind of text. But in the case of it being HTML, then your browser is going to actually be able to parse it, to analyze it, to know what it's getting, and
Mm-hmm.
to make some pretty drawings on your screen for you to actually,
Okay.
see colors and buttons and font types and everything like that.
All right.
All right. So I guess in that's my 5-minute definition of the whole way of how the internet works.
Okay.
So now you had a question.
Oh, yeah. I was just worrying about the HTTP. So it's basically how users communicate back and forth, or a client and uh, a server interact with each other.
Yep, it's one of those of the protocols that can be used through the internet. It's like
Okay.
there is one. If you want to learn more about this, there is this. I believe it's the ISO OSI model, which defines there are like 7 layers of protocols
Uh-huh.
that define which is called the, what TCP/IP stands for?
I've heard of it, but I'm not sure what it is
Okay,
really.
so TCP/IP is a protocol stack. It's like all this, I don't want to get too deep into this because we're going to get into a rabbit hole, which is very, very deep.
All right.
But the idea is that every you have like a problem, very uh, you have many problems you need to solve in order to establish communication between two. For instance, what we are doing right now. Okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
like we need the first thing of all is we need our computers to be able to transmit and receive information to one another.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in a very basic level, we need to be able to send bits over the internet.
Right.
Okay, but once that goal is achieved, you will find that, okay, this is good, but it's not enough. You need
Okay.
to make sense of those bits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and how exactly are we going to define that this bit that goes out of my computer has to go to your computer and not to your neighbor's computer?
Right.
Okay, that is what is called a routing problem. Okay, so there is another protocol on top of the first that defines how exactly this, they are called packets, how the packets go from their source to their destination.
All right.
Okay, that is what TCP is for.
Okay.
Okay, so
Well, go
there's a
ahead.
whole lot of layers to this onion. Okay,
Yeah.
but so I don't know how we got to this. That, can you repeat your original question?
Oh, I was asking about HTTP and how it allows clients and servers to communicate together.
Okay,
But
right.
yeah.
Okay, so this is the thing, is once you have like figured out all the physical connection, like, okay, we can send that data back and forth. That's
Hmm.
a given. That is what TCP/IP does for us. Okay,
Okay.
then in order to actually make sense of this data, we need a new protocol, and HTTP is one of them.
All right.
There is another, for instance, which is FTP. You may be familiar with it.
Does it have to do with files or?
Yeah, exactly. It's a file transfer.
Okay.
The very difference is, instead of sending simply, or basically, it's like you don't send text over. You simply
Hmm.
send like bytes, and
All right.
it's like I don't know what I'm sending. It's for me, I'm just sending bytes, and I have this file here. I will send it over to you.
Hmm.
Um, it's usually much more efficient for precisely for file transfer, because it's a
All right.
protocol that is supposed to do that and nothing more. Okay.
Uh-huh.
um, you have some other protocols, what I don't know right now, but there can be many of them. HTTP is just one of them, and it's the one that is used for web applications, or
All right.
actually for web in general. It's not only applications. I mean,
Uh-huh.
nowadays it's weird. It's uncommon for you to find like static websites. But
Uh-huh.
in the early days, there was no such thing as web application, and the concepts
Oh,
were still the same.
okay.
Um, so let's try to go back to the DOM, where it comes all in this whole
Uh-huh.
ecosystem.
Comes together.
So yeah, the thing is, once your browser has received all the HTML from the
Hmm.
server, it has to it's the browser's responsibility to make sense of it and to render it into a nice website that you can actually browse, like a regular person.
All right.
Okay, right. So how does that work? Well, the browser internally has a component which is called the parser.
Hmm.
Okay, which is responsible for validating and understanding what the HTML code means.
All right.
All right, and that, well, I've never really seen the source code of a web browser, but I'm kind of have an idea of how this could be done, or how would I do it if I had to. And
Hmm.
so one way to do it is to first try to understand where the tags are. The tags, like the okay,
HTML tag.
yeah, HTML tags. You need to
Okay.
you have a it's like you have like a bunch of random text, but it's not so
Uh-huh.
random actually. Okay,
Okay.
I mean, it looks like random text, but if you know what you're looking for, you can see that, well, this is not really random. Here's a tag that opens, here's the closing tag,
All
and
right.
okay, in the middle you have probably other tags or whatever. You can have a so the thing is, when you do this parsing, you
Hmm.
will find that if you had to do it just manually by hand, and that
Hmm.
could actually be a nice exercise, to take a very small HTML file and try to
Uh-huh.
make draw the DOM tree by yourself,
Yeah.
because that is actually what the browser is doing. It's like when you open an HTML file, it will most likely start with an HTML tag, which has its slash HTML at the very bottom. So that would be like your source node. It's
Okay.
this is the root of it all, and then you have some other. It will form a tree, okay?
Okay.
And that's what the DOM is. It's an in-memory representation of the HTML document.
All right.
Right, and what happens is it is a very useful structure for making sense of the text.
All right.
Okay, so once the browser like has the whole picture in its head, let's say if it was a person, then it will say, oh, okay, now I know what I have to draw. Okay, imagine if you did this exercise I was saying. It's like you read your HTML file and you simply take notes and you draw your own DOM tree. Okay. And once you have it, it's like, oh, now I understand. This is like the blueprint. And now I need to make a pretty picture out of it.
Okay, and that's what the DOM does?
Well, the DOM, you can think of it, it's like this blueprint of the web page.
Okay.
That's basically what it is. Hi, what you just saw was an excerpt from a conversation I had with a student of mine who had this question about what the DOM is all about. If you have any question, any programming question, especially PHP, please don't hesitate, contact me and I'll try to answer as soon as I can. Here's my contact information. See you soon.